Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about 5 of the easiest characters to master in Smash Ultimate in my own personal opinion. Now do keep in mind this is just from what I've personally seen from people trying to learn a character and from myself personally trying to learn how to play a character. As well, I want to mention right here that in a lot of cases I believe it's actually easier to learn a high tier or at least mid tier type character because you are dealing with a lot better tools. It will take a lot less time to figure out how to beat the top tiers. So in a lot of cases, we'll see slightly higher tier characters than you might have thought of otherwise, just because that's kind of how I feel when you're trying to learn a character. With that all in mind though, guys, let's get going. To start off this list, I'm going to be talking about Palutena. And for Palutena, I feel like in the previous game, she was actually a pretty difficult character to pick up and play because she didn't really have a super great game plan. In a lot of cases, you just pick her up, and you try to use a decent amount of aerials, you try to use some tilts, but they really didn't do anything at all, and then she just kind of fell apart. But in Smash Ultimate, I feel like she has a very good game plan. That be mainly just using your very strong aerials, spacing the opponent's shield, getting in with nairs, and of course going for quite a bit of grabs because her grab combos just do a little bit better now. Overall, Palutena just feels like a character that kind of works, and her game plan is very basic, as it's just kind of a repeat of the previous few things I've said. Now, speaking of aerials, I feel like she honestly has some of the best aerials in the entire game. These things are extremely spammable, do a ton of damage, oftentimes combo, and space very safely. Now, sometimes they can be a little bit too easy to play around because you know that they're going to be coming out, and you know she can't really use tilts way too much, but yeah, they are still amazing, and if you can be kind of tricky with them, you still can get those openings and still can start up that damage. Continuing from here, I also have to mention that pretty much all of her combos are some of the most basic in the entire game. And of course, you got stuff like forward air, which sometimes works. You got stuff like down throw, back air, down throw, forward air, which sometimes works. But of course, the main combo that everybody knows about is neutral air, neutral air, neutral air, neutral air, and then maybe you can get a forward air if they're at a certain percent or they're a certain type of character. Yes, this is one of the best combos in the game. Yes, this is one of the easiest combos in the game to actually use and to actually pull off in a game. And yes, it's one of the most worthwhile ones. And Palutena has that, and I feel like just having that alone, along with her really easy to use strong aerials, just makes her a very strong character that's not way too hard to play. Add this to the fact that she also has a gallback recovery that is really hard to mess up on and makes it really hard for people to edgeguard you, and the fact that she as well has a counter / a reflector against spammers so that if you're personally bad against the spammer matchups, you can still beat them. Yeah, she has a lot of really good things going for her. She doesn't really have any giant main weaknesses, and while she is in some cases a little bit worse than some of the other top tiers, she's still really good, really easy to play, and overall a pretty fun character. Moving on to my second pick, I really had to decide between Mario and Dr. Mario, and in the end I decided personally for Dr. Mario, but you could kind of think Mario in the same spot. Now, the reason why I thought Dr. Mario was potentially a little bit easier to play is the fact that while, yes, Dr. Mario might be a little bit worse, he's actually quite a bit more focused on just getting singular hits. He's not really the character that has to focus on learning a ton of very long combos because while he does have some combos, mainly with up air, he doesn't have nearly as many combos as Mario, but he does have a lot of very strong, powerful hits. So if you can hit your opponent 1 to 2 times, sometimes that can make up for, Mario hitting them 3 to 4 times, which I think makes him a little bit easier. Now, I also wanted to mention right here that, of course, both these characters, Mario and Dr. Mario, are kind of the classic basic character. That's kind of how they're built to be. They have a little bit of everything from a decent recovery to decent edge guarding to decent ledge trapping, pretty good close range aerials, pretty good normals, specials that kind of allow them to do, just a little bit of everything, a projectile, a reflector. They are the character that just has kind of a bit of everything. Now, another thing I have to say right here is that Dr. Mario I also believe is a little easier than Mario because while both of them are good at close range, while both of them have very quick, pretty damaging aerials, sometimes it can be kind of hard to actually finish off a stock as Mario. Sometimes you have to get exact setups which don't always work or that are very hard to learn. But with Dr. Mario, he has a lot of very powerful kill moves and very powerful setups. Starting about kill moves, his up smash is way better, his up B is really good, and his side smash kills quite a bit earlier. And talking about kill confirms, he has stuff like pill to forward air, down throw to down B, and yeah, he can kill super early, he can deal a ton of damage, and I feel like those, while you can sometimes mess them up, are quite harder to mess up than a lot of the Mario's combos, which could potentially lead to a kill, which are, quite a bit longer form, and yeah, your opponent can DI them a lot more, and yeah, overall, I feel like Dr. Mario definitely has the easier part about that. So yeah, while it does hurt a little bit with his pills, with his damage, with his kill confirms, with all of that, I feel like he still is probably a little bit better, but in any case, both of them are very good, and of course, very easy to play. Moving on to my third pick, that being Mii Sword Fighter, I feel like this is one of those characters that started off as a character that nobody was paying any attention to, and then one month just kind of got a ton of hype. Everybody started talking about him, mainly when we figured out the Tornado.B combo, but then over time has just kind of fallen off again. And you don't really see way too many Sword Fighter mains, don't really see way too many people talking about this character, but today I wanted to focus on them a little bit because I feel like this is one of those characters that is very strong and as well very easy to play, overall making it a pretty good character to pick up if you don't have way too much time to actually put into Ultimate, but still want to have quite a strong character, and you want to have a character that can in some cases be a little bit of a meme. Now, when talking about Mii Sword Fighter, I feel like the first thing we have to talk about is that overall it's a character with a very good, safe neutral. It's a character with a sword, and most of his sword moves just kind of make sense. Forward air pokes ahead, back air can potentially kill and potentially combo, and is just pretty quick. Neutral air is kind of like an Ike neutral air, but a little bit worse, and up air can actually combo for quite a bit of percent, or can be used by itself in order to just kill your opponent off the top. Pretty much all the moves make sense, pretty much all the moves are pretty easy to utilize, and while they aren't necessarily as strong as some of the other characters' aerials, they still do enough and still apply enough pressure on the opponent that it can be pretty annoying just with those alone. Now, they aren't necessarily the best thing about this character, but they are pretty good, and they kind of lay a general good ground to start off playing Mii Sword Fighter. As well, I have to mention the Mii Sword Fighter can be an extremely spammy character if needed. This character has a ton of great projectiles, from the things like the shurikens, which are okay, to the chakrams, which are really good, to, of course, the tornado, which is just amazing. Now, against certain characters, you can just spam out projectiles again and again as Mii Sword Fighter, and if they happen to get kind of close, well, you can throw out your sword and as well punish them, push them out. It is so annoying against certain characters. Against the vast majority of the characters in this game, it makes it that Mii Sword Fighter actually has a very good matchup against them, and if you happen to hit a projectile, you're either hitting your opponent near the stage, or the edge of the stage where you can edge guard them pretty easily, or near the edge of the stage where you can hit them with the tornado and kill them with your up beam. Now, speaking of that, of course this character does have that tornado, and that thing we just have to mention. This is honestly probably one of the best moves in the entire game. It's a move that has a lot of range, that honestly just true combos for the vast majority of characters into like forward air or back air at lower percents for a lot of damage, and at middle percents like 40 to 60%, you can actually go tornado into up B near the ledge and kill. Yeah, while you can't always spam this all the time, it's really good at neutral, it's really good at hitting the opponent at the ledge and two-framing them. It's a really good tool, and probably one of the best things about this character, other than just, really solid neutral. Now, the final thing I have to say is that Mii Sword Fighter also has a good amount of cookie-cutter combos. Now, honestly, I'm not going to talk about them all right now, but of course you have stuff like up tilt up air, down tilt fair, down throw up air. There's a lot of different things that this character can do that aren't really way too hard, and while you can't really get like 3 to 4 to 5 hit combos, you can get like 2 hit combos that do around 25-30%, and that's in general good enough. Gives you enough percent, gives your opponent to percent ranges where you can get stuff like neutral B into up air, neutral B into up B, kill your opponent. Overall, pretty ridiculous character, and honestly not way too hard to learn. To the second to last character, I put Yoshi right here, and I feel like Yoshi's that one character that for a long time people have just been saying is kind of the brain dead top tier, the character that you can pick up, you can play, and you can get a ton of results as, and are really easy to go for. And for a while, I kind of looked at him and I was like, I don't really see that way too much, but as I've been seeing more and more Yoshi play, I still think that it takes a lot of skill to play him at a high level. Of course, that's with every single character, but he does have quite a bit of mechanics and I guess things about him that do make him quite a bit easier than a lot of the other characters in this game, and quite a bit of traits that as well do a similar thing. Now, the things about Yoshi that I think are so good, and as I guess kind of brain dead, is the fact that he has very, very fast and strong aerials. And he has very, very fast and strong tilts that combo easily. And he has strong smashes that kill and that are pretty hard to mess up. And overall, his regular neutral is pretty basic. It's just kind of the close range, throw out attacks, try to beat out your opponent, bait and punish neutral that a lot of other close range brawlers do, but he just does it quite a bit better. I feel like those together make Yoshi just one of the characters that just kind of works, and that is kind of hard to mess up as. And while he does have a lot of potential that you can do with him, a lot of potential combos, a lot of ways that you can maximize him, in a lot of ways you don't really need to do that to get a good amount of damage out of this character and a good amount of pressure out of this character. Now, talking about potential damage, he does probably have some of the easiest combos in the entire game, and mainly just off of forward tilt into stuff like up air, up air, up air, or into back air, or off down tilt, a lot of different options here. Now, of course, you could do with the cookie cutter bread and butter things, but you can also choose to do something else, and I really like that capability with this character. Now, of course, if you do just do the cookie cutter, it still is probably some of the most damage you can get out of something like that, compared to pretty much any other character in the game, some of the easier combos, but having that ability, I feel like makes him one of those characters that is very easy to learn, pretty easy to master, but as well, has a lot of potential, and you can be quite a bit better than other Yoshis, just by learning those combos. In every other way, though, he is, I guess, pretty dang basic. I'm betting a lot of you guys guessed this first place pick, and of course, it is Ike. And yeah, I feel like Ike has kind of gotten that mantra as the easiest character to play in this game, the character that just has the moves that work, moves that combo, moves that space, moves that do everything for him. And yeah, that's kind of how it is. Now, if we want to get into specifics, Ike is a character that just has a very easy game plan, mainly focused on spacing and spacing alone, and sometimes going in for tomahawk grabs. And that's kind of it. It's really hard to kind of mess that up if you know exactly what you're going for. Now, in order to actually support this playstyle, he has a lot of great moves as well. The first move we're going to have to talk about is, of course, his Nair. And this is kind of the brain dead move that everyone talks about. Nair is just really great. It's great on shield. It's great when you hit your opponent because it can combo to itself, and a high percent if you happen to hit an air, you got yourself up air or back air for a kill. This is one of those moves that you can just kind of throw out a lot, and yes, while your opponent can play around it, it's really hard to, and the amount of effort the opponent has to put in compared to you while using this move, it's quite a bit favored for Ike compared to the opponent's character, which is pretty good because it gives you, the Ike player, more time to figure out what your opponent's doing, and gives you, the Ike player, more time to kind of get into their mind. While they're trying to focus on your Nair, you can start throwing out other attacks. Now, of course, Nair is, of course, the main thing people talk about, but I feel like ever since, Smash has kind of existed, Ike has been one of the easiest characters to play, but also one of the most fundamental characters to play. Now, the thing about him is that he does have a solid spacing game plan, and that applies to everything other than Nair. His back air really spaces quite well, his forward air spaces quite well, his tilts work, and while he has nothing really way too crazy, and nothing really way too fast-paced, you can just kind of space well and get results as this character. Now, I also want to say right here that other than just his aerials being good and kind of making sense as moves that hit your opponent away that do a lot of damage, his tilts also make quite a bit of sense. His down tilt combos pretty well, his up tilt as well combos pretty well, they both space pretty well, and his aerials just kind of all make sense while they're connecting into and out of his tilts. He's just one of those characters that you throw out a move, and you know exactly what it's going to do, you know exactly how you can follow up with that move, and that's kind of how it be. I also want to mention right here, of course, his down throw allows for stuff like Nair, like forward air, a lot of good follow-ups as well, and they are pretty dang basic. Overall, this character, I feel like, just has kind of the basic game plan set up for him. But that doesn't mean this character isn't good. But that doesn't mean this character isn't fun. And but that doesn't mean that this character isn't quite easy to play. And yeah, you will have to think, I think, more than the average player now because, people can play around your game plan pretty easily. But by the fact that your game plan's so easy, it gives you more time to think. And I think it kind of cancels it out. Overall, Ike is a great character. And honestly, probably one of the characters that I would play the most if I wasn't playing another farming character right now, that being Roy. But anyways, there you guys go. Those are my 5 easiest characters to master in Smash Ultimate. And of course, I did miss some other characters like Kirby, like Ness, a lot of other characters like that. But I feel like these characters were just maybe a little bit easier to play, or at least in my experience, I've been able to pick them up and use them quite a bit better. So if you have your own opinion, please leave that down in the comment section down below. As well in the comment section down below, if you have a certain idea for a new list you want me to talk about in the future, please leave it down there. I'm running a little low on ideas for top 5 lists. I really like making them and talking about them, but I could use a little bit of help, so I'd really like that. If you could upvote those, that'd be great. I know, need some help for some content, but maybe it'll work. As always, guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Top of the screen right now is a card for playlists of more Smash Ultimate videos. Like and subscribe to see more like this in the future. And as always, have a smashing day.